what it means to be rare is such a difficult one to answer. I think it means something different to everybody. But to us as a family, Reuben is absolutely that. He is unique. He is completely one of a kind. His sort of nature is just fantastic. He's got the funniest laugh. He can be so happy over what most of us would think are just kind of standard things. So just, going to the beach and watching the waves crash against the shore, that's his ultimate happy place. He will stand there for hours and watch those waves crash, and he'll giggle at the waves, and he'll stim, so he'll flap his hands and he'll sort of jump up and down on the spot. He just gets so excited by such a simple thing. His character is fantastic. Obviously, that you get that mixed emotions. You get that really high, like I was just describing, but you also get the lows as well. So Reuben can become incredibly frustrated, usually through his lack of being understood. He's pre-verbal. He doesn't currently have a correct method for communicating yet. We realised he wasn't meeting kind of those developmental milestones. He wasn't sitting at the kind of standard age, or crawling or rolling. So his kind of physical abilities were quite impaired in those early months. I think one of the first things that we noticed was his lack of smile. He didn't smile for, I don't know, maybe 10 months or so. It was a long time before he first smiled, and that was quite difficult to see. Obviously, you go through these groups where lots of other friends and families and all the children are doing these things, and Reuben wasn't. So I think it was quite hard early on. I remember, this was just Danielle telling me about it, but an experience that she had fairly early on was went to one of these sensory experiences for toddlers, where there's sort of lots of different, it's a dark room, lots of lights, lots of foils and lots of noises that the babies can roll around in and touch. And all the other children were kind of loving it, and Danielle went, and Reuben was literally just screaming the place down, which was overwhelming, obviously for him, which we didn't necessarily understand at that point, but overwhelming for Danielle, and she ended up leaving that session. And it was those sort of times that Danielle would come home and say, he's not the same as everyone else. To get that call out of the blue was fantastic, and to be told that they'd found a reason, a cause for Reuben's problems was brilliant. Then obviously, upon it being explained to us that Reuben was one of sort of under 30 people in the world that had been certainly reported with this condition, and in her opinion it was certainly under 50 worldwide, and that she thought, and it would appear that Reuben is the only one in the UK currently diagnosed with this condition. That makes it slightly not as exciting, because it's still so rare that actually you still don't get all the answers that you were necessarily hoping for. I think one of the big ones for us was, and for probably most parents with an undiagnosed, a child with an undiagnosed condition, is what their future will hold. What is their future going to look like? How are they going to be in their 20s and 30s? Will they still need adult support? Will they be able to have a family? Things like that. So with Reuben's condition, also because it's relatively newly discovered and within the sort of last 2 or 3 years, we don't have all of those answers. We know what other children are experiencing and their kind of symptoms, but we don't know anything about their adulthood or what that looks like. So all we can base it on is the geneticist's opinion based on other vaguely similar conditions. It was really those early months and those early years where we would just sort of see different specialists, different medical professionals for various things. each one of those was adding and adding to this list of diagnoses for Reuben, and it kind of got to the point where the paediatrician referred to a geneticist, and the geneticist referred to a neurologist, and kind of between them, they kind of established that there was definitely something. It was too much, too many complications for it to all be kind of just coincidental, and they decided to start, or the geneticist certainly started, on the road down genetic testing. It's difficult to explain, I think, the feeling that those undiagnosed families go through, and obviously we don't know what every single other family goes through, but to get an answer is such a relief, and without those genetic tests available, that's just not possible.